Some new insight from the trades is coming in regarding Blake Lively's drama with Justin Baldini on It Ends With Us. But more interesting is the fact that it might have just gotten Ryan Reynolds in some serious trouble. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and It Ends With Us is still being talked about. The film is also getting lots of money, and its sequel is now in doubt. And because of that, Hollywood trade publications are reporting on this issue. And this latest from Variety has some very interesting updates I wanted to share with you, particularly a part about Ryan Reynolds. But let's go through. I can sort of summarize and tell you some insight as to what this all means. So the film has now already made $242 million worldwide. It could reach up to $300 million. And that's a huge amount for a summer film like this, especially one like this. It appealed, though, to female audiences, and it's now taken off. Hugely profitable, as the movie only cost $25 million to produce, and it's expected to net at least $25 to $30 million in profits for both Sony and directors Wayfair Studios, which is Justin Baldini's, the director-actors production company, which financed it with TSG Entertainment. The deal-making points puts that figure at double. Those margins don't include proceeds for cinema or box office bonuses for Blake and Baldini. At the end of the day, it's a lot of money that everyone's going to now reap from this reward. Now, the sequel is an obvious, like, well, duh, they have a book Colleen Hoover has written. It starts with us, and it exists, so they don't have to stretch it out like she even notes, like they're doing for that Big Little Lies, which they're now bringing back because it was such a hit. So you'd think they'd be all on this because it continues with the same characters, etc. But it would involve both Baldini and Blake having to return into the film. This feud between them has spilled into the public eye and left sequel plans precarious. This is uncharted territory. Nobody has any idea what a sequel could look like, says a source familiar with the situation. There's probably no world where these two, Justin and Blake, will work together again. As the Chronically Online are aware, this we've discussed this in quite great detail. You can watch the previous videos if you want to know all the back history as to the drama Blake has done, etc. But where things get interesting, and I didn't know this one, there is one cast member that's still following Baldini, and that is Hassan Minhaj, who plays the brother-in-law of Baldini's character. But Blake and Justin clashed on the final cut of the movie. Now, Variety is reporting that it was Lively's preferred version is the one that made it to the big screen, which would be interesting if that's actually what happened. I didn't have a problem with the final cut, but I'd be curious now to see Justin's cut. Imagine if they did both versions, so you could sort of see, the Ryle cut and the Lily cut, on a Blu-ray, and let us sort of decide. Man, bring it on. Why are they afraid of this? Egos, that's why. Screenwriters have said it was odd that Lively admitted during a red carpet interview that her husband, Ryan Reynolds, wrote a key scene in the final cut of the film. Sources say that came as news to Baldini, who thought the scene had been ad-libbed by Blake. So I guess that's because a lot of people are like, well, how could he have not known that the scene was written? He's the director, and I shared that too. But apparently she had just had her lines rewritten, so she was funny. And if you've seen that rooftop scene, it makes more sense given what she's saying that he must have buttoned up her dialogue so he could respond better and sort of ad lib with him. And he didn't realize that was given to her by Ryan Reynolds. Apparently, the other issue is that the WGA is now potentially involved. It could be a guild violation that could spark a credits issue, though the movie can have uncredited writers. Rarely a director is unaware of that. But where things get more interesting, and now the trouble arises for Ryan, is the film began production on May 5th, 2023, 3 days after the writer's strike. Ryan Reynolds, who received a screenwriter credit on Deadpool 2 and Deadpool Wolverine, is a WGA member and would have been barred from contributing to the screenplay between May 2nd and June 27th. Writers picketed the New Jersey set, and production was paused in the late June 2023 before SAG. So basically what this means is, how could he have written it then? How did this happen? I guess he rewrote it before is what they'll probably try and say. Source close says he took a pass on the rooftop scene in April of 2023. Right before it was supposed to go to strike, he quickly... Now look, the reality is he probably did it during the strike. A lot of writers, I'm sure, were writing during the strike. They just needed to make sure it didn't look like they were writing during the strike. Solidarity. but a lot of writers, I'm sure, were still using that off time to write because they could. And I bet you he was working on it. Who was not thinking creatively? Creative people can't just shut their brains off. I don't care what strike's going on. You just had to make sure you weren't caught doing it. Let's keep it a buck. So he wrote it right before. Sure, got it. Okay. Do you believe that? I'm a little hesitant. Neither Baldani or Lively have addressed the chatter publicly. Multiple sources confirmed a variety, though. Bad blood between the two is very real, and the relationship may not be salvageable. None of these sources could articulate any legitimate transgressions from either part. So I found that to be the most interesting. So this Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, these are the ones that typically get the agents and people to really give you the skinny on things. And they are acknowledging, oh, it's real. There's absolute bad blood. They got the bad blood, but we don't really understand, and we're not going to be able to tell you why. There's not like one issue that happened. And again, that reiterates what I think happened, which was a clash of egos, where Blake had her own vision of the film. This was her brand, her big way to make some cash, and Justin was keen on making this about the issues. And honestly, that makes sense given the fact that he retains the rights, and that's why this is all complicated. Typically, you just push Justin out. Well, we're going to make the movie anyway. They can't. Wayfarer Studios, his production company that has the rights, owns the cinematic rights to both books. He acquired them after she rejected several other offers and agreed with Justin. And here's what she said. Colleen Hoover, the writer of the book, I feel like he understood the book and he understood the importance of people seeing it, of needing to see it on screen. Look, there's one thing I'll say about Justin in my research on this. He's absolutely been about the messaging of the book, way more than Blake has. In fact, Blake is under more fire because now another, this One Tree Hill star is coming up saying her comments have been ridiculously super tone deaf. DV comments, DV does define you. She was out there, this is Jenna Kramer, saying that she thought Blake's controversial press tour was crazy, reflected on her own experience of DV while discussing it. It's hard for people to talk about DV when they haven't had experience themselves in real life, had the hands of DV on them, she said, responding to sort of Blake's comments about it. She appeared to reference the recent BBC News interview where Lively claimed it's deeply empowering to show how her character, Lily Bloom, is not defined by the ABUSE she experienced. For people to say it doesn't define you, it does define you. It has made me who I am, and though people can say it doesn't define you, it does. One of the biggest pieces of me is DV, she continued, calling that the biggest thread in her life. Kramer previously detailed it suffering the hands of her ex-husband at the time, expressed disappointment over the movie's marketing, assuming it was a rom-com. Bring your girlies. I would love the messaging to go to DV with the media instead of talking about riffs and everything else. But the movie is about DV. So anyway, she's not wrong. And Justin has done his share to make that better. Blake has not. Now, you can't really go out there and explicitly market it that way. You want people to come in. I think at this point, though, now they could absolutely pivot and say, see the movie everyone's talking about, but for the right reasons. Like there's so many opportunities to turn this. I think of The Sound of Silence. What is it? The child, the one, Sound of Freedom. How they were able to get so many people riled up on the subject matter. Now that it's so popular, now that everyone's talking about it, now is the time for Blake and Justin to make ends meet, to figure out, look, we did it. Whatever, it's working, it's affected. We got our, whether it's the one we wanted or whether people were stepping on each other's toes, I'm sure. At the end of the day, though, do the better thing for the public. Make amends, apologize to each other, figure out a way to make this forward and get it sorted out and get the messaging out there. Blake absolutely needs to start getting the message out there. So Hoover, the author, agreed, everybody out there, but this is the problem. Will they be able to connect and make this? Now, Sex and the City 2, the movie, was notoriously... There was a lot of bad blood between Sarah Jessica Parker, Kim Cattrall. It's so bad now she won't be in the same room with them, and she called in a quick scene in the last season, but she's not coming back to actually be in the film more. And so they came, though, together for a lot of money. Will they be able to throw a lot of money at this problem to say it? Now, Baldani had said previously he won't direct it. He said, I think there are better people for that. I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. Now, was that shade? Absolutely. Was it also a brilliant sort of throwback? And does it sort of validate what we all think is that she was overstepping creatively and wanting to control the project? Yeah. And he's going to be like, look, you do it then. I don't want to fight with you anymore. The character Ryle plays a much smaller part in the second book, so it would be easier for him to step aside, just be acting a little bit, and then let them take over. But they would need to come to kind of accord since he would be a producer on the project. He holds the rights. It's not just an option. This was fascinating to read, but he owns the rights. So it's not like they need to renew or release this by a certain point. He's the sole property. He booked this book before Hoover became massive on Book Talk, which I didn't even realize was a part of TikTok. And then it blew up, and now everybody wants the movies. And I think I've also heard rumors she's frustrated at him because she could now get a much bigger deal, and he didn't let her because he has the rights. That's how it works, Colleen. So don't be mad at him. He got the movie out. He did. Blake and him got the movie out. It's out there. So we'll see what happens. What'll be next? Will they be able to actually get this through? They can't do it without both of them. They're both involved in this project, and it's just sad that they're not going to be able to do it. So audiences are clearly not caring about the drama between them. Nobody does. Blake, you look so bad, just silently ignoring all this, thinking it's going to go away. Your next project, it's all going to come back up again. You got to address it. You got to just own it. Apologize to that damn junket interviewer. You were rude. You both were. You and Parker Posey were mean girls. She did nothing wrong. She can't even have kids. And then you shamed her. Shame on you. Do the right thing, just like you did to Princess Catherine. Let's not forget what she did to Princess Catherine. Oh, and then she quickly apologized after that backlash. Why isn't she doing it now, huh? That's my question to you all. What do you think? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell for all alerts. Smash that thumbs up as well, and let me know your comments on this. We will keep you updated on all the updates. We got more reporting for you tomorrow and the next day, so hit the subscribe and stay tuned for Popcorn Planet.